President Bola Tinubu has appointed the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Matthew Kukah, as the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of the Federal University of Applied Sciences, Kachia, Kaduna State. The appointment comes barely 33 days after Tinubu ordered that the federal government take over Nok University, Kachia in Kaduna State, and transform it into a federal university. Following the directive, the private institution was renamed the Federal University of Applied Sciences, Kachia, from its old name, Nok University. According to Ononuga, the president also appointed principal officers for the university, including Professor Kurik Barnabas as Vice Chancellor, Sanusi Adamu as Registrar, Ibrahim Dahat as Bursary, and Professor Daniel Abubakar as University Librarian. The statement added, all the appointees were carefully selected based on their distinguished careers, leadership experience, and dedication to advancing education in Nigeria. Mufasa, I know you'll be asking why this discussion, why do we have to know the reason for this appointment? Well, the thing is, we may recall that the bishops of Nigeria actually came up to, condemn the present-led administration of the country, because of, like you stated, the issue that people have been going on with. The recent one is the NYSC lady that came up to speak, and then NYSC officials are trying to keep her quiet, not to say word. There was an alleged statement that was made by an aide that she is supposed to be sentenced to death for speaking up. In as much as the bishops made statements, and he came to reply that he's actually working, he's doing things right to make the country a better place. Now the question is, why appoint the bishop as the Pro-Chancellor and the chairman of that university? Is this supposed to give us something to think with? I would like to get your thoughts on this, please.
When you talk about bishops, it reminds me of, there was a certain set of bishops that visited the president before he was elected into office. I don't know if you could still remember the bishops that came, and endorsed him, at the level of a Miloko, So the president has always had nice and cordial relationship with bishops, But talking about this particular appointment, I feel that it could be a deliberate ploy to try to shut respected Bishop Hassan Kukah up. Bishop Hassan Kukah has been one clergy that has been speaking on the side of truth and justice, especially when it comes to speaking against the ills of society and government. All of a sudden, the president has now thought it expedient to give him an appointment. Recently, I'm aware that Professor Atahiru Jega was equally appointed by this administration. And could this also be another attempt to muscle, in a very clever way, dissenting voices? I'm aware that this particular administration has zero tolerance to criticism. I'm happy in the build-up to this particular topic, you made reference to the NYSC girl and how she was threatened. And so, as also other people who have spoken against this administration. Now we are seeing Bishop Hassan Kukah, a known voice, a voice in the wilderness. So I'm sure after he had been given an appointment, you won't be able to be bold enough to speak against the government that has given you an opportunity to serve in the capacity of a pro-chancellor. For now, we don't know if the bishop has accepted the appointment or not. This morning, some commentators, as I was coming, some commentators on radio were even saying that the bishop shouldn't accept that appointment. You know, that it could be likened to a poisoned chalice, you know, and attempt to draw you close so that you can now be controlled in a way, you know. So these are some of the issues. As a Catholic bishop, I'm sure there are a lot of responsibility that he has in his hands. There's nothing wrong, excuse me, there's nothing wrong if a clergy is found worthy of a certain position, but when you consider what is currently going on in this country and the stance of certain individuals, just like someone like Omoyole Sowore giving an appointment, you know, you just know that all these are attempts just to reduce the dissenting voices, you know. So of course, not if, I'm sure Bishop Hassan Kukah is eminently qualified for that position, but I just stated my worries and concerns that this same man, this clergy, is somebody who has been a very vocal voice speaking against bad government and bad governance, including this particular administration. At a certain time, he came out to say that Nigerians are not getting the best of leadership and all of that, that the government should sit up, you know. So if this kind of individual has now been converted, you are not converting him to join your ranks, then for me, I would say it is intentional and deliberate move to shut out dissenting voices and to reduce the number of people who are genuinely and constructively and objectively criticizing this government.
Okay, thank you on that, Mr. Mufasa. In that instance, what would this entail in a general understanding, the decision of the president-led administration, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Does that mean he is actually working like he stated? He has talked about baby steps and the light after the tunnel for Nigerians to wait for. Or it's actually an entirely different situation? I will still go back to this lady that has actually been on the news and on almost all the social media platforms for the past 2 days over the statement that she made in NYSD Copa, you know, over the hardship. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it because we know how much a crate of egg is at the moment, you know. So she came out to speak up for the Nigerians that are scared to speak up, because someone has talked about revolutionary measures. I'm like, how do we engage in those activities where the bad governance incident was not a good one? The EndSARS situation, in as much as it was a peaceful protest at some point, it turned out to an entirely different situation. So what's the guarantee that when Nigerians actually come up to speak, they will be listened to? You know, this lady has come out in the limelight because of her boldness, actually, to be there on the social media to speak for Nigerians that are scared to speak up. In this instance, that the president has decided to appoint Kukah, Pro-Chancellor, because he knows that this man has a voice of condemning certain things that are not in the favor of Nigerians because of the position he occupies. Do you think the president has the thoughts of the people at heart, or it's another situation altogether?
You talked about guarantee, and I can tell you for free that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria guarantees every individual the right to an opinion, the right to speak up against the ills of society. There's freedom of speech. Of course, no freedom is absolute. But then again, that I decided to come out and speak up against the effects of the bad leadership of this country. I have not committed a crime. So I do not need any form of guarantee other than what the grown norm of this country has given me.
Okay.
If not that, we are practicing an adulterated democracy. You cannot, if you want to go by the provisions of relevant sections of the Constitution that guarantees your right to speak, you cannot shut a man's up. Now, this appointment, like I've said before, and I'll say it again, it's a deliberate and intentional attempt of government to reduce the number of dissenting voices. Of course, I am not aware if the reverend gentleman, the bishop, has accepted the appointment, but he is at liberty to do so.
Okay.
But he should also consider the vast majority of Nigerians who are looking up to him, who have looked up to him as somebody who is an icon, as somebody who has stood on the path of justice, who has stood on the path of fairness and what is right.
Okay.
Who has stood and spoken vehemently against bad governance and injustice.
Thank you.
The question is this current administration doing what is right? So does it mean that after he has accepted the appointment, will he still be able to speak up? Because it now becomes a case of your view of the road changes when you move from the passenger seat to the driver's seat and vice versa. So it has a lot to do with integrity. So for me, we wait in the time to come to see how the bishop will react to this announcement.
Thank you on that, Mufa.